on my good ear. I have them on my side to be on my good ear. Move the...
Move
this one.
Oh. Oh, that is slightly perfect. Hello, hello, check, check, check. Microphone.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Is this thing on? I should do it. I should teach it like this. Roaming mic. Oh. That was short-lived. Cool. Check, check.
I have the videos, but nobody wants to look at my face.
Ah! Oh, they just like laughing at me. That's the whole point of these videos, I think. They didn't say that in the flip video presentations, but that's the real reason.
There's the real reason.
They like speeding me up and slowing me down on the thing. It's like their favorite thing to do.
I'm not a performer, so I don't get any enjoyment out of that sort of thing.
Out of what?
Being in front of a camera.
Oh no, I hate it too. But
Did that create a better light for you?
I don't think so. It was creating a glare. Nope, it wasn't that creating the glare. It was lights.
Yeah, figure out the lights. Try that.
Might. I'm dark. That might help them see the board if I do this. I'm sure you had other things to do this period than listen to me.
Not need new batteries.
There you go. I got it.
No, I need new batteries anyway.
No, one side or the other one. Okay, welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great day. Today, video number 4, we're talking about monetary policy, the Fed, right? What is monetary policy? Monetary policy is simply what the Federal Reserve does to change money supply, which has an impact on our overall economy. All right, so a couple things you need to know before we start. The first thing is the Fed has complete 100% control over MS, for the supply of money in our economy. 100% control, right? The second thing you need to know is that the Federal Reserve is unchecked and independent. That's a long word to write on a video. Okay, so those are our two things. The Fed, 100% control. So if they want to increase money supply, they do. Right? They want to decrease money supply, they do. They control exactly how much money is in circulation at any given time. Right? Over here, they do this without having to talk to anybody. In fact, politicians, even the President of the United States, cannot tell the Federal Reserve what to do. This is on purpose, right? The Federal Reserve is meant to be independent so that they can make economic decisions rather than political decisions, right? They don't want to be swayed by politics. So there we go. Unchanged or unchecked, independent, and 100% control of the money supply. So we're going to talk about how they do this in a little bit, but first I'm just going to show you why money supply is actually a tool in our economist's tool belt to begin with. What does it, or how does it impact our overall economic health? Okay, here we go. So for this one we are going to graph. We're actually going to be drawing two graphs side by side. So go ahead and draw the bones of the graph. And so this first one we're going to call money. This is our money market. And our second one we are going to call investment, or IG. So we have a money market and we have an investment market, right? Now we have certain demand for money, it's DM. We got to call this one IR. Instead of price, we're going to call it interest rates. Right? Interest rate is what you pay to borrow money. That makes sense, right? And down here we have QM, or quantity of money. Over here, this is also going to be interest rate, so we'll put IR here for investment. And then we will put quantity of IG, or quantity of gross domestic investment, as our x-axis. There we go. Okay, so why is money downward sloping, or the demand for money downward sloping? When you think about it, it makes sense. When the interest rate is low, we're going to demand a whole lot of money, right? We can borrow more money and we don't have to pay quite so much for it. It's just like the law of demand for any good or any service, where when the prices drop, the quantity demanded increases. The price of money is interest rates. So when the interest rates drop, the cost of money is going down, which means we're going to demand much more. That's our downward sloping curve. But our supply curve is very peculiar here. The supply curve is actually vertical, and we call this SM, or the supply of money. Completely vertical. Why? Well, remember what we said earlier in the video. The Federal Reserve has 100% control over the money supply. So it does not have any adherence to our interest rate. It is not affected in any way, shape, or form by our interest rate. So the United States Federal Reserve can determine exactly how much quantity of money, so we'll call this QS1, they want to put into the economy. And look at what they control by doing this. If they decide that, yes, we're going to do QS1 for our money supply, we dash it over, the Federal Reserve has just determined the interest rate, or in other words, the price of money in our economy. Now, when we are in a recession, the Federal Reserve is able to increase money supply. And by increasing money supply, they actually stimulate our economy. Right? So we show this by showing SM shift right, or supply of money shift right. We'll call this SM2. And notice what happens. When the supply of money shifts right, we have a new intersection. You remember, the Federal Reserve has complete control over the shift. They can determine exactly how much it shifts. And by doing that, they reduce the interest rate. Now, how is the reduction in interest rate stimulating to our economy? We go over here to our second graph. We have investment. We're actually just going to show our demand for investment. We're not going to show a supply right now. And we know that demand is always downward sloping, demand for investment. And again, our price of investments is interest rate. You have to borrow money in order to get capital goods. And so when interest rates are really low, we're going to demand a whole lot more investments. Okay, so now what would we do? Well, at our original supply, we actually dash this all the way over from SM1 and get an intersection over here at investment. So when we had SM, when we only supplied quantity QS1, we had interest rate of IR1. We dash that all the way over. We see that that intersects our demand for investment here. We dash it down, and we have a low quantity, we'll call this Q1, a low quantity of investment demanded. But when we shift the supply right, when the United States Federal Reserve decides that they want to increase money supply, they're going to reduce the interest rate. And when they reduce the interest rate, we dash it all the way over to our second graph. They have another intersection, and notice what happens. Our quantity of investment increases. Now, how does this stimulate our economy? Well, we know that our economy is in a recession right now because GDP has dipped. We also know that GDP is made up of those four elements. Consumption, so C, plus investment, IG, plus government expenditures, plus net exports. The Federal Reserve is able to move the needle on one of those four elements, investment. By simply increasing money supply, they reduce interest rates. By reducing interest rates, they increase the demand for investments. And by doing so, they push up the investment portion of our GDP metric. And as a result, they stimulate the overall economy. Now, how much are they going to do this? How do they do it? Why do they do it? That is going to be our next video. Okay? Be well. See you later.